what is going on with this transhuman movement, which is this movement that's arising of technology replacing our biology, and how we need to be conscious and aware of what's going on underneath all of these political agendas that we see in the news. And underneath that, there's a whole war going on for our humanness.
And that sounds so intense, and so we think maybe that's not true, but like COVID prepared everybody to say yes to whatever the government told you to put into your body. No fucking question. You have to do it, because if not only are you gonna die, you're gonna kill your family. Yeah, it's literally like our human essence is up for grabs. Like, that's what he's saying. Like, there's a literal war on our humanness, and it's so scary. Divinity piece, which really just means your connection to the true essence of what it means to be alive and what it means to be a conscious soul.
We have the power to bring ourselves into a regulated state and to connect in with this higher intelligence. And when you create the time and space to do this in your life, you start to connect to this divinity in a much deeper way. So there's nothing to fear, because all is taken care of, and you are so held and you are so provided for. But all you have to do is we're going to catch up a little bit just in life in general. And I feel like we both have updates to share. You have been like going through a massive up-level rebirth where you are feeling so tapped into your energy, which is just so fucking beautiful to see. Like, seeing you out on Instagram doing your fucking thing. That reel you made the other day was epic.
So funny.
So funny. How long did that take you to make?
So I had my little brother film it for me while he was here. It probably took us, at the end of the day, like, honestly, not that long. It took like 20, 30 minutes to film.
Yeah.
And the idea came to me, I don't remember when it came to me. I think maybe after a meditation, or like when I was in bed or something. And I just started writing down. I saw this visual of like a whole little story arc of like a person like on the couch or sad and being like doubting themselves, and then explaining like this whole 2-part like method basically to confidence. And it was just so fun, because Lorenzo, my little brother, is like he's a filmmaker and he likes to direct things. So it was great, because we kind of put our creative minds together to come up with this little skit, and he was like directing me and like doing the different shots and whatever. And it was gonna end with me jumping in the pool with my clothes on. It was fucking great. So I posted that skit, and it was really fun to see everyone be like, this is fucking hilarious, like do more of this. But yeah, I honestly love doing that type of content, like silly little skits and stuff. I mean, I was a fucking film major. Like, I love making short films and like doing content like that. So
it really
it was hilarious.
So my question for you is, what do you feel like are the top things you've been doing that have helped you harness into this really deep level of authenticity and magnetism? I know we just did a whole episode on authenticity and magnetism, but I'm curious, like, everyone has their little things that just like put them into alignment, those little practices, those go-to things. And I want you to share yours, because I'm actually curious what your things are.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, what's coming to mind is more so like the kind of just recapping what May was for me, because the month of May was just so intense, and it was like every single one of my basically like shadows, if you will, came to the surface. And I had so many hard conversations with my partner, so many just like confronting moments with myself, and I really went fucking deep on, it was like simultaneously I had all this shit come up, and then I also went a lot deeper into fully believing and buying into myself and being like, I'm fucking going all in, and I am going to make sure that I have no fucking doubt that my vision is going to come true. And that's like in the macro sense. I like, because I think I went so deep and honestly had a lot of like not necessarily like a rock bottom, but I just hit some bottoms of just like intense emotions and intense things coming up, and like just, yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It was just like all of the things that were related to my work and my purpose and success and my relationship. It was just all coming up for me to look at. And instead of running away and numbing, I was like insanely aware of what it was going to take to get through it and to transmute it into something really powerful. And that's where I just really leaned in to the kind of like healing work and doing so much breath and meditation with myself to just like process the feelings and the things that were coming up. And then also realizing and noticing the synchronicities that were confirming my purpose and what I meant to do. And that was really facilitated through just my own self-discovery and through my human design of like all these insane synchronicities, and whether it was through the world around me or my partner reflecting to me things that I knew deeply about myself, that then helped me to confirm like, okay, you know what? Like, you're fucking doing this. Like, you are literally built for this. And there doesn't need to be any doubt because it's fucking written in the stars.
Yeah.
And that energy has completely changed how I'm showing up, because now it's like on Instagram and with my personal business, like my messaging, my teaching, it's fucking dialed in, and I'm like, all right, let's go. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I know what I'm here to do. This is it. And it's like, that's where the authenticity and showing up and being seen has become second nature, is because I'm just so fucking sure of the person that I am that everything else comes a lot easier.
Yeah.
And then in tandem with that, just, yeah, like a full on commitment to knowing what it fucking takes in terms of the practices and the dedication. Like, it is officially a non-negotiable every single day that I need to meet myself on my meditation mat or do some version of a spiritual and nervous system like routine to support myself. And when you do it enough times, you're like, this is the new me. Like, I'm fucking doing this every day because this is what it takes, and I know who I am, and I need to remember my power every single fucking day. So it's just been like a whole insane different level of devotion and dedication, and like all fucking in. Like, it all came to the surface, all the fears, all the doubts, all the limiting beliefs, the money stuff, the finances, like it all came up, and I was like, all right, there's fucking no going back. Like, we got to figure this out and make it fucking work, because I'm done feeling like shitty, and I'm done not like having bad habits with this, and I'm done with this. And I was like, fuck it, we're going forward and no more bullshit. And so, yeah, anyway, long story short, it was just like an insanely intense month, but now I'm feeling so fired up, and like I literally installed a new version of myself that's like here to stay, and we're like, all right, fucking sick. I mean, obviously still doubts come up, but they're very micro and they're attached to specific instances. They're not like about me as a person. And that's huge.
And you're self-aware enough to ride that out.
Right.
Because of the practices and the devotion. You should be so fucking proud of yourself. Like, I have watched you go into the fucking fire and come out in such a short amount of time. Like, what you just did in a month of your life can take anywhere from like 12 months to fucking 2 years if you're not present and aware enough to actually hold yourself with grace and compassion when you're feeling that level of discomfort in life. And you fucking did it, and you brought yourself through that. And it is so beautiful to witness that. And even when you were like deep in it, I'm like, there's so much fucking beauty that's about to come through the other side of this. And there just has been, like, watching you go through this has been so inspirational for me to even see on the sidelines as like someone that's very close to you. I'm like, damn, she's fucking showing up. She's doing it. Like, you were willing to lean into the discomfort. And I honestly want to go into a deeper conversation on like dark nights right now, because it's really inspiring. Some stuff I heard from the Gregg Braden event that I was at this past weekend about it. But do you feel like this was almost like a mini dark night that you went through?
Yeah, I think so. Cause I knew in the moments that it was happening, I was like, this is exactly what needs to be happening right now for me to make these changes. And like, even in the moments where things were dark, I had the foresight of like, this is good. Like it was weird.
Right.
That was like a new like feeling of, it was just full trust and like already seeing the story unfolding.
Yes.
Where I was like, I am going through this because it's reminding me of X, Y, and Z, and it's showing me that like things are about to change. So it was like being in the dark night, but with so much empowerment and knowing that the light was coming back.
Yes.
That felt really different. Like I remember like we had like phone calls, FaceTimes where I was like fucking crying and like pulling my eyes out and just like talking through things. And I still knew deep down, I was like, this is so fucking good that this is happening because it's going to catapult and kickstart a whole different chapter for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think it was like a dark night that I was ready for because of how consistent and how long I've been like on the spiritual path, that now, you know, the universe was like, all right, are you ready for the fucking deeper level of this? You know,
it's truly all so divine. And I want to talk a little bit about my own perspective of dark nights and connect it to what you're sharing. When you set the intention to like do something in your life, whether it be start a business or attract a partner or manifest your dream home or move to a different location, there's an energy that exists on. And sometimes the energy in our body doesn't resonate with that frequency. So we're gifted these challenges and opportunities in life where we're brought into the darkness to really become aware of the beliefs and perceptions and emotions that are ready to be dissolved. And we talk about this all the time, but I want to talk about this in the frame of the dark night, because when you go through this the first time in your life, and you can think about the first time you had your dark night, you have no awareness around why it's happening, or even like how you're saying the light at the end of the tunnel. So the story that you tell yourself when you're in that, and also feeling the emotion and the heaviness and feeling the fear and being drowning in like the doubt and all the things that are coming up, is, oh my goodness, I'm not supposed to be feeling this way. Get me out of this. And you kind of like elongate the time you spend in it, and it ends up being a lot longer because you're resisting just like surrendering into the emotion or bringing yourself to your meditation altar and just fucking crying it out and letting yourself feel and be present with the current experience that you're having. But with these dark nights, it's such a huge opportunity because you're going into energy that was stored in the body and releasing it, which is so powerful for your energy field. Yes. It's so powerful for your manifestation journey and for your reality shifting. And if we can have this awareness when we're going through these moments of like, oop, I feel like I'm in one of these little dark nights, you can evolve your story that you tell yourself when you're in them. And as I'm hearing you tell your experience of the month of May, like you can hear the story that you were telling about that experience was still through the lens of I'm an empowered human being. Even if in the moments you didn't feel that way, there was still like this overarching awareness and consciousness to holding yourself through that time. And I'm not saying it's comfortable to even have awareness in a dark night. It's still freaking uncomfortable. Like you were in a lot of discomfort. We've all been in these chapters of dark nights that are less intense than the first. They're still fucking intense and they're still painful and uncomfortable. But that story is everything. The lens that you're seeing that experience through is everything. So like, what do you feel like people can remember with what I'm talking about that like helped you, that maybe would help other people as they're navigating a dark night? And also one more thing, I feel like dark night has such a heavy charge to it, but I really do see like life gives you these like little mini dark nights that become less intense as you become more aware.
Yeah, totally. What you said about when you really when you lean into those dark nights and it clearing the space within you to then embody the higher vibration or whatever kind of goal of, whatever you're calling in tends to have a feeling or a vibration connected to it. Mm-hmm. And that piece, I think, is what's so key, is because when you really lean into it and you know that you need to feel it and journal on it and reflect on it and talk about it and say all the fears out loud and, admit all the things to your partner, like just letting it all out, you're literally clearing energy, dense energy from your body. And on the way out, it feels dense and it feels intense and it is, not like painful, but it just like is rough in some ways. Mm-hmm. But then you feel so much lighter because now you've made room for embodying and being at a different level. And I think that's the power that happens as you lean in and you go through the fire, and then you come out and you literally have room to hold more abundance and to hold more good, vibration and whatever you want to call it. Like, you are able to then be the person who can hold it and carry it because you went into it. And I think that's exactly what happened to me, and why I had that sort of higher awareness during those moments, to know that like this was all part of the process, and that this was like the universe having my back and part of it already being done.
Right. That's really powerful. I'm like just so impressed by the journey that you went through. And now it's like you also have the wisdom of how to navigate those times. And
Yeah.
it's almost like you keep building this toolbox where every time you navigate something in life, you put a little bit more tools in the box that you have for later use.
Totally.
And how you have so much more data, so much more information, and so many more tools to put in the toolbox that will help you at any point in life. And I remember when I was first starting this spiritual journey and recognizing that there were these cycles, I was like, holy fuck, this is terrible. Like, this feels like fucking whiplash. When does this stop? And I remember in a call with Sarah, she explained to me that it doesn't go away. You just become a different person. You become a stronger being that can handle it in a way that where it doesn't knock you off your feet to the degree that it did the time prior. And that constant journey of like that personal evolution and like the softening into the heart is really powerful. And I learned that like the dark nights soften when you have a larger degree of compassion for yourself.
Mm.
And like that's where
Yeah.
they start to, they're still uncomfortable. I'm not doubting that, but like the compassion aspect really allows you to be your own best friend during those times instead of an enemy to yourself.
Totally. Yeah, well, you're just not battling yourself anymore in it. You're just like supporting yourself, which is a very different energy. It's not like being like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're like, oh, good. This is nice. Let's
Yes.
fucking figure this out together.
Also, at this Gregg Braden event that I was at, they talked about the impact of suppressed, unprocessed emotions in the body and how it impacts the expression of our genes. And this is like what we talked about on that episode with the family constellation therapy. And it's so interesting to think about that as well, that when you're going through these dark nights, you're actually given the opportunity to process emotion that wasn't processed before. And that literally changes the chemical makeup of your body and the way that your genes are expressed. And it also impacts the types of thoughts and like stories you'll receive through this radar that you have of your mind and your heart, and how you're receiving information from outside of yourself, because we're connected to this big field. When you're going through these moments of a dark night, know that because you're feeling and you're going into the depth of like a lower vibration, you're going to be receiving thoughts that match up to that type of frequency. So it can feel so uncomfortable because you go from feeling like, oh my God, I'm so limitless and powerful, to going into a dark night where all of a sudden you're connecting with these storylines that are more so resonating with lack, separation, fear. And if you're not conscious and aware, you can think that those stories are true. But instead, we want to use them as a moment to become aware of what it is we're more prone to, what kind of like stories and thoughts we're more prone to receiving when we're in those states, because that's where our ego is coming from. And we can start to just get to know it like you would a little kid that's coming up to you and complaining about something. Like, take what they're saying maybe with a grain of salt if they're like going off on a story that's not true. Or I'm not saying that children are not truthful when they're telling stories, but I'm just saying, like, if they're being like over dramatic and screaming like a little kid about someone not giving them candy and like making that person the devil, you can just listen to that story with a grain of salt and also start to look at, oh, like what are the perceptions that this little kid has over this person or whatever. And we can have that same relationship to the thoughts and stories that land in our body when we are going through those times. And when you think of it on that energetic level, it's really powerful, because no longer are you identifying with those stories, and you can actually just allow them to be and use them as an opportunity to become aware of outdated perceptions. which is, again, uncomfortable.
Yeah, 100%. I want to know more about how the event was. Like, tell us about how you found it and all that, because it's kind of
Yeah.
cool how you found yourself there.
So, for anyone who doesn't know about Gregg Braden, I actually found his work on Gaia, and he has a series on there called Missing Links, which is really freaking incredible. I know
It's
you started
so
watching it
good.
too. And I think there's 2 seasons. Each of them has about like 13 to 15 episodes in it. I don't even know if I watched everything. It's like one of those shows that you can go in and just like start and watch random episodes, but I do suggest watching it from the beginning
Mm.
because his work has so many different angles that you can go in from. And he talks about ancient civilizations. He talks about his views on evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about the power that humans hold. And he's also been talking about recently this movement of transhumanism, which is this movement that's arising of technology replacing our biology. And this event that he just hosted in Sedona was a 4-day event called Pure Human Breakthrough, where he taught us. The first day was all about like kind of giving context of what is going on with this transhuman movement and how we need to be conscious and aware of what's going on underneath all of these political agendas that we see
Mm-hmm.
in the news. So right now there's war going on. There's all these political talks around like the like trans the pronoun movement, like all of these little political, not little, big political conversations that are popping up, and he stresses how they're important. Like all these things are important, but they're being used to weaponize they're being weaponized to keep us blinded to the actual shift that's going on underneath all of this apparent chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say that this stuff that we're seeing in the news is fake or shouldn't be looked at or talked about. That's not what he's saying at all. He's saying it's all very important. But the powers that be are weaponizing the
Yeah.
strength that this kind of news has over people to be put in a place of fear and to be distracted and to not be actually looking at what's going on. And underneath that, there's a whole war going on for our humanness. And that
Mm-hmm.
war is being the war is happening through the technology. So they're taking AI, and there's a whole plan to replace certain parts of our biology with technology. And this is also a nuanced conversation because you look at people like Elon Musk, who are inventing these technologies like the chip, what's it called?
Neuralink.
Neuralink, it doesn't go in the brain, it goes like around the brain, right? Do you know the details of this?
Yeah. I forget where exactly, but it's like between the brain and the skull somewhere where there's
Yeah.
like the nerve connection.
Which Greg was talking about, like, he's not against technology. Like, these technologies have really beautiful ways of helping us as a society. And he gave the example of someone that went to war and lost their arm and now is able to hold their children with a prosthetic arm, and they're able to move their arm with just their thought. And there's all these beautiful implications of technology, but there's also really dangerous ones of people taking synthetics or technology and inputting them into their body to replace certain parts of their biology. And he was stressing that it's so dangerous because people are not aware of how
Yeah.
powerful the parts of themselves are that they are replacing. So he was saying there's a whole movement to replace our humanness with technology before people even know how powerful their humanness is. And he talks a lot
Mm.
about divinity and how divinity is our ability to, here, I'll take his direct quote, but essentially it's our ability to like see past the perceived limitations of our mind. Divinity, power or forces that transcend accepted human limits. So we all have these perceived limitations or stories that sit within the programs of our mind or certain perceptions that we took on from certain experiences or learning through society. And he talks about how our divinity is our ability to transcend those limitations and to push the boundaries of what is actually possible for us. And he was sharing that humans don't even realize the power that they hold to constantly push the limit of those limitations. And they gave examples about using human biology, like the comparison of a computer chip, and how a computer chip has a specific size, and then they take a human cell and they put data in it, and the amount of data that they think it holds always gets expanded upon because it just keeps growing and growing and growing, and there's no limits. And that's just a tiny example of how powerful we are and how powerful our biology is. And the whole first day of the event was him just discussing very openly, like, what is going on behind the scenes with policy and their vision and what it is they're wanting to kind of force on society with all this technology by the year 2030. Like, this isn't that far away.
I mean, this has been underway for decades.
Yeah.
Like, I was just thinking of, for anyone that's listening and you're like, are you sure they're trying to replace us with technology and whatever? Think about how probably 99% of adults today, if you have a headache, your first thought is to take Tylenol. That is the biggest fucking clue that we have all been brainwashed to think that we are not powerful enough to deal with what is happening within our own bodies.
Yeah.
That simple. Everybody, every fucking person, at least in the West, would think like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's rare. That is how common it is. Like, you have a cold, take the medicine first. There's no like baseline understanding of the fact that your body can heal itself. Like, this has already been happening for years. Like, we've been slowly but surely getting brainwashed to outsource the basic functions that our human bodies can do to a pill, a person, a government, an authority outside of yourself.
A technology.
And that's how the technology, exactly. That's how they've been warming us up to, by not that far from now, accept technology as being integrated into humans.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's how like these powers that be would slowly, but very, very effectively convince us that we need something outside of ourselves to be powerful. And yeah, that's why the reminder and the connection of the divinity and remembering our power and how literally limitless we are is the antidote to this, and is why, you know, like, I get so fucking fired up about this stuff sometimes, especially when it connects to our health and our freedom, because it is, it's like literally the difference between a human being remembering and knowing how capable they are and someone living a victim and completely outsourcing authority to somebody else for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And it completely changes the human experience. And that's what I loved about I listened to the 2 Gregg Braden episodes on Know Thyself.
So good. And if you guys are intrigued by this combo, go listen to that.
Yeah, they're really good. He kind of like gives a shortened recap of, it sounds like, what he went super deep into in the event. But like, listening to him speak just really lit that fire in me of like why this is all so important, and like why I feel this fire to talk about these things and to like fulfill this purpose and to keep having these conversations on our podcast and like grow this movement. Because it's literally like our superhuman, not even our superhuman, just our basic human essence is like up for grabs. Like, that's what he's saying. Like, there's a literal war on our humanness, and that sounds so intense, and so we think maybe that's not true, but like, just think about the basics of how most people think about themselves, and that they, you know, COVID prepared everybody to say yes to whatever the government told you to put into your body. No fucking question. You have to do it, because if not only are you going to die, you're going to kill your family. Hello. Like, that's a whole new belief system that was completely installed into most people's minds without question.
Yeah.
And they were building up to that with just the general Western outlook on health and wellness.
And the craziest part of that too is that something Gregg was stressing this past weekend was like, you don't use it, you lose it. Your body atrophies. Like, you have abilities within you that when you replace them with an outside force to help you, or you take something to help your immune system, or you put a technology within you to replace a certain biological function that you can do to a degree you can't even understand because it's just so massive, your body starts to lose its power to even have that because it atrophies.
Right.
It says, oh, you're not using this, we're going to lose it. We're not even going to waste our energy trying to sustain this ability. And that is something to be talked about. Like,
For sure.
why aren't we talking about this more? Like,
I know.
as a
I actually am
society?
getting chills. Because, dude, that part, actually, this is something else that when I was listening to the episode in the car ride with Milan, I paused it and it was telling him something that I was realizing, because I've been hearing from a lot of, I mean, this is like a general thing that's talked about, and I've just been hearing anecdotal things about this too, of how a lot of young people, and I mean people who are like basically college aged right now, so, you know, a lot of Gen Z kids, the education that they're getting in school apparently is fucking trash these days. And there's like a literal, like, I'm not saying this is across the board for every Gen Z kid. I'm just saying like this tends to be popping up more often than not now, that like basically like kids are not really being taught, and they're not developing normally the ability to like problem solve and think critically about things. And it's because with so much technology use, so many things are just done for you that your brain doesn't go through the process of creating the literal neural connection and like all the synapses and how the brain works and like belief and all that, because it's all being done for you. Or there's not as much academic rigor anymore because of like, you know, professors are scared to challenge students because they'll get canceled, or like they want to actually, you know, if you think about it in a more insidious way, like if there was someone dictating how to educate the young people, you wouldn't want them to be critical thinkers. And so they're not going through the same academic rigor. And it's fucking sad because all these young people who are so powerful have no idea how powerful they are. And their literal like brain power is suffering because they're not making the connections in their mind to be able to do things on their own. And it's like, and that's then the young like babies and stuff with technology and being introduced to an iPad, like their brain isn't doing the normal things to like hold up a circle and try to fit it in the shape. And their brain is like, okay, I have to do, like, they're not doing that. And so the brain literally doesn't develop, and they're getting fucking dumb. And it's so scary. Like, yeah, we really need to talk about it more. Like, it's
Let's fucking
that
talk
fucking
about it.
serious.
I'm having
Like,
an idea pop up that I heard from Gregg too, that connects to what you're saying with also children are not activating and using their imagination, because sitting in front of a TV where there's all this color that they're taking in and everything's done for you. Whereas when you're outside, you are the force that is triggering and activating the use of your imagination. You're hopping on the broom, you're flying around, you're playing dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was little, I would go in the driveway with my cousins and my siblings, and we would draw like a street down our driveway with like chalk, a dotted line, and we would play like cars, and we would drive around and pretend we're going to the gas station with our little like electric Jeeps and going to the supermarket, and someone would be the cop, and we were just constantly using our imagination. I mean, I have videos of me and my friends in the backyard just doing the most ridiculous things, like dressing up. Dressing up was such a big part of my childhood. We had a basement in my house that my dad he had redone, and it made it like just such a beautiful place for us to convene with friends and hang out. And we had this big basket of like all old clothes from my mom's closet, from dance recitals, from Halloween costumes, and every single time with friends, like no doubt we were in the basement making up dances, dressing up. And that use of your imagination is so powerful, because when you think about it from more of like a spiritual perspective, you are connecting to the field and taking in this inspiration and data from outside of yourself. Like when you think about an artist sitting down to write a song, they're receiving that information. And when you're using your imagination as a child, you're like creating that relationship to the field. You're creating that relationship to receiving information and light and data into your cells, and then doing whatever you want with that, whether it be making up a dance or dressing up like a freaking superstar and putting a microphone on your head and all the things. But when you don't use that, that's when you start to lose your connection to that and you get dependent. I mean, it's all connecting. It's literally all connecting in my head right now as I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you're going to point to things outside of yourself as like the source of saving you when you're in these problems, because you can't critically think for yourself or even drop into the body to like create safety and ask what is best for you in that moment. And yeah, I mean, this whole weekend with Gregg, I want to hear more about like your perspective on this, because I feel like you have a lot from what you leaned into during the COVID times with the health freedom movement with, oh my God, Zach, Alec. I can never remember his first name. Alex Zach. And I definitely want to hear more about that. But as you're talking, I'm going to look in my notes and I want to see like other stuff that popped up. But
yeah, I mean,
share your perspective.
No, you go ahead.
No, I want to hear your perspective on like the imagination stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just absolutely essential. Like I think this is like the basic, thing to reclaim for people today, and it really majorly affects young people, and I think that's why there is this consciousness shift in this spirituality, the spiritual awakening, because like Gregg is saying, that divinity piece, which really just means your connection to the true essence of what it means to be alive and what it means to be a conscious soul, what it means to be a human. When you connect back to that, oh my God, it just fucking changes. It changes your cells. Like it changes everything. And when people don't connect to that, it's kind of effectively this, that you can say, quote unquote, the root of all evil in a way, to be dramatic, is like when we forget that, that's the start of the downhill trend. And yeah, I just remember in like 2020 and that whole COVID era, like Nikki was saying, I got really connected to this health freedom movement that brought it all together. It was the divinity, the oneness, the remembrance of how brilliant our bodies are. And it just kind of lit that fire of like, there's a reason why the awakening and the collective shift really took off in that era. And it's because there was such an obvious breaking down of basic human values and basic spiritual values in our collective, that you had people triggered into reevaluating themselves and their life and their beliefs. Mm-hmm. And we needed that, because that's how we now start to reclaim and spread that movement of people who are making the decision to reject the shit that is not aligned with them anymore. And it's not about division, but it's about like, just making the conscious choice. And something that Gregg said that I really appreciated and gave me a lot of hope is he was saying how he like foresees that, all of the dystopian movies that show there's the tech society of people who are like thriving or whatever. Some people are still actually quite like poor and like survival mode, but they're like in the tech world. And then there's the outcasts of the farmers and the people who grow their own food and the people who are connected to each other and, are spiritual, whatever. And that what happens is humans check each other out. This is like how Gregg explains it. And they want to see who is more happier, healthier, more connected. And he's like, that's what people are going to do. They're going to be like, like those people over there actually seem way happier, way healthier, and more connected to each other. And hopefully that is what leads to a correction. And that is why it's so important to stick to what you believe is right and what feels aligned for you, because you just living that life creates a ripple effect via somebody, noticing it, observing it, or checking and asking about your life. And that is how we create more option and continue to sustain that, the human essence that is being fought over right now.
Right. And another thing he said is that it's not something we need to, I know you just used the word fight, but not in this context. I'm using it in a different context. He's saying it's not that we need to fight against the technology, but we need to rise above it. And we do that by remembering our divinity and remembering our power and being in that energy, like you're saying, of just owning your path and then being that light for other people. And it reminds me of the episode that we did on You Can't Fight Darkness with Darkness, which I just sent you what episode was that? I feel like it was in the teens.
Yeah. It came out around like August or September of last year.
Such a good episode. We intuitively had an episode idea drop in about not fighting darkness with darkness, and then the fucking war broke out. Like,
Yeah, it was insane.
that was
Yeah,
crazy. We
yeah.
thought it was going to be another pandemic. We're feeling the hit to make an episode about this. Like, this is a message that's coming through both of our channels so strong. And then, like, literally a week later, crazy,
Nuts.
insane.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say that connects to what you were talking about, the curriculum in schools, Gregg was talking about how children are taught that the human body is weak and flawed. And just in like topics like emotion, our emotions and our intuition is something that can be talked about from the lens of like, you are a powerful being and your emotions carry wisdom. Your intuition is something that's connected to a heart, which is connected to this higher intelligence, right? Like, there's that angle you can talk about it from. Or you can talk about it like, oh, you're feeling sad? Take this pill.
Yeah.
Oh, you were told to do this. Your intuition told you to do this. That's stupid. Follow the logic.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So that's a more generalized way of seeing how we're taught that we're flawed and broken. But I think in conversations, probably in like health classes, they're probably teaching about these things that are just, oh, like, watch out for this sickness and this and this and all this, like, just from that fear angle, instead of reminding people of their power. And this is why I'm very passionate about when I have children, like, they will be homeschooled. They will be taught about this.
Yeah.
And they will have full awareness around the energetics and creating your own blueprint and how your thoughts and beliefs can heal you and impact your health. And they will be taught that. And they will be someone who will grow up to teach other people that and to be a living, walking embodiment and example of that. And I was even sitting out to lunch with my friends at the bachelorette weekend, and we were talking about, like, I just said openly, like, I don't think I want to send my children to public school here. And they were like, why? And I was like, I honestly couldn't even like voice. I'm like, where do I start with this?
Yeah. You're like, how? I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah. And then I just kind of like let the conversation move by me. But there's just so much, like, I have just so many opinions around why I wouldn't want to send my child to public school, just because it's a part of the plan to separate children from their unit and their tribe, and to be taught by the people who actually hold the wisdom that maybe is necessary for them to learn, instead of these agendas and forced curriculums that are actually just built to keep you separate from your family. They're built to keep you think that they're built to like separate you from your body and from the power that you hold. And as you're listening to this, like, I really want you guys to think about the power that you hold within, like the divinity that you hold. And we all have these stories, we all have these limitations, we all have these perceptions, but we have the power to slow ourselves down, to bring ourselves into a regulated state, and to connect in with this higher intelligence. And when you create the time and space to do this in your life and to cultivate a relationship to your own inner world, you start to connect to this divinity in a much deeper way, so that when you're going through a dark night, or when you're going through a challenge, or you're getting triggered in life, or something really terrible happens in your life, you have this connection within you that is there to guide you. It's there to give you information. And also, if you're dealing with sickness, you're able to turn into that and to connect to a powerful energy field of healing. That was another thing Gregg discussed, was how much energy our human vessels are able to create. And he gave the analogy of like a 12-volt battery, and said that if you were to put batteries on a football field, of the amount of energy that equates to what a human can create, it would be like 3 football fields of 12-volt batteries. Fucking crazy. And we have all of these cells in our body that are able to receive information and to give information. And we have this beautiful energy field around us that interacts with the field, and then it creates our body. And what creates this field around us is our perceptions, and it's the way we interact with the field that enforces the blueprint. So healing and going into your subconscious perceptions and really looking at those limiting stories and starting to see yourself from this wider lens and connect to your divinity. It's not like, oh, you're going to feel good. No, you're going to literally change your energetic blueprint of the way matter forms your body, the way atoms form matter, the way particles drop into atoms and form matter to create your body. There we go. And with that, you have this really powerful perspective over how you can be I don't like the word control, but you get to be the one in control of like how your body shows up in this world. And yeah, there's going to be things that maybe pop up that we're like, oh, where did this come from? Or a sickness or an illness. But just to know that you can always connect back into that divinity and be the powerful source of healing for yourself. And I was just honestly so fucking inspired this whole weekend. So the day one was all about really setting the stage of why he's so committed to this. It's like a mission he has, is to really wake people up to their own divinity and their own power because of everything that's happening. But then he went into how our stories show up in our emotions, how they show up in our body, and how they show up in our relationships. And the next 3 days were broken down into each of those sections. And it's funny because on the last day, we actually went through the Essene mirrors.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was really cool to like hear his personal perspective on that. And we learned about like the history of the Essenes and where it was found in this like ancient library that was found, these texts that were found by like a little kid. And we just like learned more about the ancient history with that and went through all the mirrors. And guys, if you want to listen to a really good episode, this is another one of our top listens, is the 7 Essene mirrors of relationships. I think it's in the 20s, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember, but it's down there. So we had a breathwork facilitator join us as well. And it was kind of like a co-creation event where he had this guy partnering with him, and this guy, Christian, led us through 2 really powerful breathwork sessions that were like pretty long. We went into the gym and we each set down like our yoga mat and our blanket and our pillow. And on day 2 and 3, we did a breathwork session in each of those days. And it was 40 minutes of straight breathing. And
what kind? What did you do?
Deep belly breath. You start with doing belly, chest, release, like just the let go.
The 3-part?
Yeah,
holotropic.
3-part. But he wasn't calling it holotropic. But then he gave it in like these 3 segments, which I don't even know if I can remember, but there was the like almost charging the battery section where you're doing the breathing. And then there was the launch section where you do breath retentions. And then there was the receival part, which is when you just lay back and receive. But the breath, the 3-part breath was like 45 minutes straight, no stopping. And it was intense.
Oh, wow. So
like I've
were
never
you in like full like tingling, and did you get like the lobster claw hands?
Yeah, the first day I did. And I got to a point where I didn't even know if I was sleeping, but I was like hallucinating.
Oh yeah. It's like psychedelic when you do it that long and in a group. It's fucking crazy.
With the music in a gym, like intense music too. I was crying.
Wow.
I had my eye mask. I just like to bring eye masks whenever I do breath work. I just feel safe and protected.
Yeah, that's smart.
But I had an emotional release, but not too much of an emotional release, because I almost felt like I'm at this point in my emotional healing journey, at this current point in my life, where I've just like done so much emotional healing and releasing that my soul's like, you're good. Like,
you're done.
Go take the action. And I kind of jumped into this weekend with the mindset of like, I want to take in more information and learn more information. I didn't approach it like I'm going to go and heal. And it was kind of more so like, I want to go learn, like be a student for a little bit, but there just so happened to be healing aspects to it, obviously.
Yeah.
But
that's cool.
I joined in and surrendered into the experience. And it was just funny because a lot of the downloads I was getting were like, you're good. like
that's great. Yeah.
No more perceptions need to be released. It's now just like the action aspect of it. But yeah, the weekend was incredible. It was very synchronistic with the way that I actually ended up going because I dove into his work through Gaia and was getting really invested in listening to him. And then next thing you know, I'm like just randomly Googling. I'm like, does he do live events still? And I Google, and there just so happens to be a 4-day retreat 15 minutes from my house. It was probably 2 months ago that I saw this online. So I didn't actually buy the tickets because I didn't know what I would be doing at that point. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to play it by ear. I'm going to just see how that time arrives in my life. And if it's busy, then I won't go. And the weekend came and I ended up buying a ticket the day before and was like, I'm just going to freaking go and send it. And I'm really happy that I did because now I just have like so much more awareness around everything that's in alignment with my path of what I want to teach and what I want to integrate into my own journey. And I really am recognizing that I love to see the science and I love to like learn about it. Like I even said to Peter, I got home from day 3 and I'm like, damn, I thought I was going to be tired and not wanting to go back to this because it's a lot. Like you sit in an auditorium for however many hours from 9 to 5, you have like a few breaks, but you are just like absorbing information and listening to him talk and talk and talk. But it just goes to show that like when you're tuned into something that actually interests you, it was energizing me. Like I was feeling really amped up to the point where on day 4, I was like, let's fucking go. And I started to get a little tired towards the end, but even when I was leaving, I voice noted you and I was like really amped up and fired up. And it's just crazy. Like if you're ever feeling off in life, another thing that you can add into your toolbox if you're navigating like a dark night or going through a forgetting phase is just to like lean into the learning that really expands your mind. Even if sometimes you can't absorb it the way that you would if you're in a higher state of awareness, it's just good to be around that type of energy because it really uplifts you, just like being in the presence of that type of wisdom.
Totally. So fucking cool. I'm so glad you went. I mean, it just was like perfect stars aligning moment. Yeah. Holy shit. It's so fucking powerful. I feel like this is just like the deeper conversation that connects it back to almost like real world shit that reminds you of why the fuck we're all here. Like why you're listening, why you found this podcast, why you're having a spiritual awakening, and why you feel called to contribute to the world in a conscious way. It's because like there's real stakes, like there's real things at stake that are calling our attention, and we have been chosen for this path basically. And yeah, I'm feeling like really fired up and inspired just from having this conversation, and like because we have the ability to like be hopeful and know that we are able to contribute and again not control but like be in control of how we relate to all of this. It's not like scary. It's kind of just like, okay, this is it. This is what it is. Like we're confronting this reality and now we get to choose how we respond.
Right. And that's very empowering to see it from that lens. Because that was another thing Gregg kept saying too. Like, it almost felt like he kind of could feel what was to come. He does a lot of studies on cycles and the cyclic nature of consciousness and cycles in all senses. Like, he talks a lot about that if you go into his teachings. And we're going through a cycle that actually finished in 2012, but there's lag time that goes before and after of when it actually settles into the end of a cycle, and that is 2030 when it actually ends. But what he was saying, he was just like, take care of yourself, be healthy, fuel your body, and care for this vessel like it is your one job. And he's like, I don't know what is to come, but all I know is that we have to be ready. And I heard him say that and just like felt the power in what he was saying. And it wasn't even like a scary, like, oh shit. It was just like, no, like when you tap into the state of being and take care of yourself and you're accessing your divinity and you're connecting to that field, you're always taken care of. There's no doubt. There's nothing to fear.
Yeah. That's really how I feel. I agree with that. Like, that's the other thing, kind of tying the loop on how I've been feeling lately. And like part of it is I've been getting an insane amount of like downloads and intuitive clarity and just input coming through my channel about,
Do share.
I mean, mainly my work, but
I said do
I
share.
said shit. Yeah. It's just about like the work I'm doing and the awakening journey and remembering yourself, things about human design, things about manifestation actually has like been coming through my channel a lot, but like going deeper into the laws of attraction and all of that. And anyway, it's just to say that because I've gone deeper into this journey and taking my purpose and my path more seriously, the universe is like, you're ready.
Yeah, we got you, bitch.
Here's some shit, you know?
Yeah.
And it's fucking cool. Like, it's like, you know, the idea of, you know, I think sometimes in early stages of when you're like a creator, for example, and you're using, you know, social media to create and share a message, sometimes you feel these dry spells of like what to talk about. And I think those are divine because I think in those moments you're meant to like be more inward and work on, you know, just you basically and like where you're at. Because then I think once you master that and get to a new level of self and self-trust and self-mastery, that then the universe is like, you're ready to receive and share these messages. And so you're just flooded with them. And it's like, you don't have a creative dry spell and you're just like always ready with things to talk about and share. I think part of that is too, is because you've like embodied it and really have integrated everything. So there's like a consistent flow of feeling like the universe is literally supporting you and working with you. And it's a true co-creation energy. And that's why I feel what you're saying about like, we're always provided for and taken care of. And I think that's something that you can increase too. Like if you want to feel like you're in constant co-creation with the universe and that it has your back, like that's a reason to go deeper into devotion and into this path that you're on.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's like that connection that you cultivate from within. It's truly a co-creation. Like when you said that word, I imagined these two beings just like holding hands and being like, let's go, we got this. So there's nothing to fear because all is taken care of and you are so held and you are so provided for. But all you have to do is establish that connection. And we doubt the connection when we don't know it's there or we think we're not powerful enough to actually establish it. So just very important things to think about. And we're coming up on an hour now, so I guess we can wrap this up. Did you have any other ideas that you wanted to pop in before we close out?
I don't think so. That was fucking really incredible and powerful, and I'm really happy with where that conversation went.
Right?
If I can, I'd love to plug, because when this comes out, it'll be the last day to sign up for
Go for it.
My Activate program, which I'll tell you guys about really quickly. I am doing a very powerful 3-week immersion program that combines human design, breathwork, and meditation, and really just the core spiritual teachings that help you to access confidence, belief in yourself, taking aligned action. And it's 3 masterclasses, 4 breath and sound journeys, and just a group community feel of getting coaching support from me and to really kickstart your next chapter of alignment. So if you are interested in human design, if you're interested in breath and meditation, and really in the general topics we talked about today, which have to do with remembering your power and honoring yourself and being courageous enough to show up as that person, Activate is for you. So you can check it out in the description. The enrollment closes on June 19th. So just keep that in mind whenever you're listening to this. But if it's past that date, just DM me in case we're only a couple days in and I can make an exception for you. So yeah.
I'm so excited for you. That's incredible. Guys, if you're like feeling into this episode and you're like, I want to tap deeper into my power, lean into this because this is a powerful experience that Bella's putting on and it's going to be fucking incredible. Her breath work is insane. The one time that I went to one of your group calls, I was like, fucking bawling my eyes out, had such a big revelation. I'm like, okay, I have some work to do. Gotta go. Bye. But it was incredible. It truly is such a skill set that you have to guide people through those journeys, and to combine that with like the human design aspect is going to be so powerful. So definitely check that out, guys. If you're getting that intuitive hit, like now is the freaking time. There's no time to wait. Lean into this work and trust that you're being guided to the exact teachers and resources that are here to help you on your path. So we will wrap this up now. Thank you guys so much for listening. And if you are interested in learning more about Gregg Braden's work, we'll link the Know Thyself podcast episodes below. I guess we can do that.
Yeah.
And also check out missing links on Gaia,
Yes.
which I'm pretty sure with my account I can refer people. So maybe I'll put a link down below too.
Yeah.
I don't know what that gives, but I'm going to look into that. So if you see that link down there, Gaia is a streaming platform that has all of these conscious documentaries, movies about spirituality, awakening, consciousness, health, meditation, the science. Like Joe Dispenza has a whole series on there. It's freaking incredible. Really, really expansive for the mind. So definitely check that out. Leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Whatever you can do to show us some love, it really helps us with our journey in our podcasting career, guys. We love you so much. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Enjoy our new bop.
New jingle.
Jinx. Amazing.